Hi, I'm Daydam and welcome to Mini Stories, the show where I make minis tell stories, make stories into minis, or just paint minis and tell stories. In my last video, I painted my first bust for my first competition, and while it's been one of my favorite projects so far, I feel the need to create more dioramas. So with Roman Lapat's Beyond Your Imagination challenge running until the end of the year, I decided to print a few tiny astronauts and begin planning a new project. I have a few ideas for different dioramas around these tiny, cute astronauts, and none of those ideas are cute. If you've been following this channel for a while, you probably know I love horror, so when I saw these while coming back home from a painting competition, I couldn't help thinking of what horrors might lurk inside those tunnels and how these cute, innocent astronauts would react to them. For this project, I'm using plastic art for the first time ever, and let me tell you, I love it. You just trace the lines, score them, bend the card, and pop! Your piece is ready. I used the plastic art to create the shape of the platform and entrance to the tunnel, which was super simple except for the hole. In order to make it look decent, I cut out a rough, smaller circle, then filed the edges until I had the proper shape and size. It took a while, but the result was worth it. And with this done, it was time to work on the terrain. I went back and forth for a while trying to define whether the diorama would have a base, a rim surrounding the whole thing, or nothing at all. But I kept working on the basic shapes, including bending a piece of plastic for the inside of the tunnel to avoid getting stuck on what's essentially polish. In the end, I decided to grab a cardboard tape roll, cutting it into shape and filling the gaps with aluminum foil. I also made a hole on the back to be able to look at the model through the tunnel. And while that seemed like a good idea, I didn't know if it would work since I was missing a key part of this diorama, the other character. But before I talk about that, while working on the terrain I was forced to fix a small problem. The glue I had used to fix the aluminum foil onto the base fogged up the plastic piece I had added to the back as a window. For this reason I had to tear the piece out, which made me realize maybe I didn't need it. After all, you can simply look through the hole. To be completely honest with you, I had no specific plan on how to tackle the terrain, but I was sure most of it would be covered in plants and dirt, so my main focus here was establishing a firm base in the right shape. For that, I added another layer of aluminum foil onto the whole thing, glued with slightly watered down PVA. After the aluminum dried, I added a second layer of PVA on top to harden the diorama and make it easier for the paint to stick. At some point I decided to add bits of wood, cork, sand and stones to add more variation. I even included a few strands of twine to act as roots growing among the terrain. And now, it's finally time to work on the second character in this story. If we're having this astronaut waving at someone inside the tunnel, then that someone needs to be on the diorama as well. After all, when someone waves at you, it is only polite to wave back. I printed these hands from an old Artisan Guild collection, scaling them up so they would barely fit into the tunnel. And with the hands ready, it was time for unnecessary suffering. Since I wanted that window on the back, I needed the hand to have something that at least resembled an arm. This was by far the most frustrating step in this project. I tried multiple materials to create the basic shape, even trying different kinds of adhesive to keep them together while I worked on sculpting, but even the epoxy putty refused to work. I could admit that I was just not patient enough, but it's easier to blame the materials. After a while, I realized there was an obvious solution I hadn't thought of, drilling two holes in the hand to insert a paperclip. This proved especially useful for getting the hand in the right pose, before hastily sculpting around the clip. That's what makes this even more frustrating. I'm going to keep the arm fully black, so I don't need a lot of detail. I just need something that the viewer can understand as an arm when looking through the window. And having spent over an hour trying to make it was definitely not ideal. Before preparing the terrain for painting, I had to decide how to assemble the diorama. The astronaut would be glued to it due to its ridiculous size, but I knew getting the hand to stay in place would be the hard part. In order to get the right starting position and give the glue more surface, I drilled a small hole at the back of the tunnel where the hand would be attached. I will add diverse vegetation to the terrain after it's painted, but for now it's ready. I sealed the whole thing with a mixture of Mod Podge and black paint before priming. I know from previous experiences that aluminum isn't the best at sticking to paint, so sealing it felt like a nice extra step to be safe. And with that done, it was time to coat everything with a layer of primer. I will be painting each part individually to make it easier to add all the details I want to each element. So now that everything's ready, it's time to paint, and time for Narrator Daedom to tell us the tale of the Tunnel Crawler. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. Yes, it has led to wondrous discoveries and a more extensive comprehension of the universe around us. But when followed blindly, it can lead us to perilous, horrifying revelations that were not meant for us to find.
Hello?
Our little explorer, unfortunately, has yet to realize that.
Hello?
There is always a trigger for curiosity. In some cases, it might be as simple as the movement of a leaf in the wind. In others, a dark, unnerving question such as, how big is the universe? In this case, it was a shadow, a slow, barely noticeable shift inside the tunnel, only noticed through its reflection on the putrid water coming out of the hole. A diminutive signal, really. During his time in this world, our friend had seen enormous shadows shifting in the thick stormy clouds, had heard the growls of 1,000 distorted voices within the ruins of a city not far behind him, and had felt a sudden shift in temperature while entering a room he could have sworn had nothing unusual to it, aside from having remained immaculate despite the utter destruction of the house around it. And yet, here he was, enthralled by what might very well have been nothing but a rat hiding in the dark and dirty tunnels. But that is the thing about curiosity.
Hello?
You can't control it. And once a question, no matter how small, has entered his mind, this tiny astronaut will not rest until he finds an answer.
Is anyone there?
It is hard for our friend to see. Not only is the inside of the tunnel extremely dark, barely illuminated by the sunlight reflected in the thin stream flowing out of the hole, but his own helmet is covered in dirt and dust, and so when he notices the slowly approaching form, he doesn't run, he doesn't jump or scream in terror. No, he simply does what he has been doing until now, being curious.
Hello?
Curiosity really is a dangerous thing, and when paired with the innocence of ignorance, well, it becomes even more so. One can only hope now that the answers our friend seeks don't bring with them his doom. Thank you so much for watching! I had a ton of fun working on this diorama and will definitely work on more projects around these cute astronauts in not so cute situations. So let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in seeing more stories around them. While you're down there, please click the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you want more. It really helps the channel grow and shows me that you guys are enjoying watching these videos just as much as I enjoy making them. I'll be back next month with more minis to paint and more stories to tell. Take care, and thanks for watching.